Welcome to A Matter of Perspective with Judge Derwin Webb. I am Judge Derwin Webb, coming to you from the Fraser History Museum. You know, every once in a while we have an opportunity to speak to someone that kind of brings something different to the table. I was looking at something on the internet about our guest, and Coach John Thompson III said something was very profound. He
Oh boy.
said, "Have you talked to the young fella? He is something else. Maybe the most intriguing and interesting man in the world." Welcome to our show, the most interesting man in the world, our man, Akoy Agau. Good afternoon, sir.
That's quite a quote. I actually remember that, man. But I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for joining us today. A
Absolutely.
little
Thanks for
background
having me.
about us, how we met. My son used to go to the University of Louisville, and we put him into the dorms. He wanted to be in the basketball dorms, and he said that his roommate was a guy named Akoy Agau. And I was like, please, man, he went to university a long time ago. He doesn't go. I think you got your basketball players confused. But my son Lawrence had an opportunity to meet you, and that was my first opportunity to meet you as well.
Yep. So that was my second go around coming back to the University of Louisville. And to be honest, I remember coming to my room and seeing Lawrence. I'm like, I haven't seen you at any practices. Like, what are you like? Who are you? He's like, oh yeah, I'm Lawrence. I'm your roommate. And I'm like, what are you doing here? Because Billy Bernardi was kind of the men's basketball dorm, and then kind of a lot of times our managers. And so, but every once in a while, we would have students that would also stay in there. And so, but I mean, came my roommate, we created that relationship, and then that's how I kind of ended up meeting you and
Right.
having this relationship. So.
Well, we're going to get back to how you got here for your second stint. But for those that don't know you well, I would say that you were born in the Sudan, and you were living there until you were about eight years old. Can you tell us about what life was like for you in the Sudan?
Right. So, I mean, this is early 90s. And, with Sudan, it's been a long, ongoing war that's been going on for over 100 years now. It's two big tribes, the Nuer and the Denka. I'm Denka. And then there's also just religion. There's a big religion battle, Catholicism, and then also Muslim. And so it's just always that battle, but also land and everything like that, and oil. So it's been an ongoing war for a very long time. But, I didn't go to school. Just didn't really have that privilege because it was very unsafe. Different rebel groups kind of always being around. The fact of possibly being kidnapped on your way to school, and school being very far away, and lack of transportation. So grew up just kind of hanging out as a little kid. And so, but then we ended up, as things kind of got worse in Sudan, we actually ended up migrating and moving to Egypt. And from Egypt, we kind of started our process, paperwork, everything like that, to start moving to the United States. And so we had really close family and friends that kind of went through the same process. And Egypt was kind of the hub where a lot of people moved because they were more advanced in technology and their relationships with other countries. So it was easier to kind of work with them and other countries to move. And so United States and Australia were kind of the two big places, and then some places in Europe for Africans to kind of move to. So moved to Egypt, lived there so I probably left Sudan when I was about 4 or 5. Then we're in Egypt for about 2.5, 3 years. Me and a brother born in Sudan, brother and sister born in Egypt in that time. And then we ended up moving to Maryland for the first time when we first moved to the U.S. And that's kind of where I started my school journey, going to school for the first time, learning English. But we were only in Maryland about 2.5, 3 years. And then we moved to Omaha, Nebraska, where I grew up.
Okay, difference between Sudan and Omaha, Nebraska.
Flying was crazy. That was that experience. Hearing a flushing toilet, that was different. Seeing snow for the first time, because Sudan, it's rain or it's 120 degrees. It's not really any in between. So I remember actually running inside, being very scared as I saw these, as now call them flakes, as these white flakes fall into the sky. And I'm like, what is going on? Kind of fearing for my life running inside, and learning how cold it got was something that I never had to think about. Remember going to a baseball game, but just due to the lack of just violence and everything like that, and hearing fireworks and thinking, our whole family thinking they were like gunshots, and no one's kind of moving, like, what are you guys doing around here? But another memory from the baseball game is finding cotton candy and hot dogs and, burgers and all those stuff for the first time, completely different food. So that was I mean, I probably ate 3 or 4 different cotton candies, and I remember being super sick. So the food experience, sports, Maryland is how I know we're all Louisville fans, so we support Lamar, which I do. But I saw the Ravens play, and I didn't like their colors, but I liked the Steelers' colors, and that's how I became a Steelers fan ever since. But I still support Lamar, so Louisville fans, please relax. We're good.
Let me ask you this: what gravitated you towards basketball? Now, obviously, you're a tall guy. All the people I know that have come from your country always, at least to me, talked about soccer. So, what made you gravitate towards basketball other than mere size that you have?
I mean, literally did the same thing. Grew up playing soccer, and obviously so my tribe, the Dinka, were actually really known for being really tall. We've got people like Manute Bol. That's where also Luol Deng is from. Manute's son Bobo is playing in the NBA now. He's about 7'2". So our tribe is really known for being tall. But soccer is a really, really famous sport. It's really big outside the U.S. And so grew up playing that. And then as I kind of started growing, coming to the U.S., and the access to these different sports, and just based off of my height, people telling me I should start playing basketball. And I used to think it was a very dumb sport. I was like, who wants to take this orange ball and shoot in this hoop? But just kind of started picking it up. But I didn't really start falling in love with basketball till right around like middle school or so.
Okay.
Middle school, freshman year.
Were you any good when you first started, or were
No,
you natural, or was it a
I-
lot of work?
It was a lot of work. It was a ton of work. And I mean, the high school I ended up going to, our coach was, adamant and working on skill development every single day. The middle school I went to, but I also lived right down the street from Creighton University. And so I used to have, they were essential in my progress because I had access to their gym. We had guys from my high school that played at Creighton, and that was at the time, Dana Altman was there, who's now at Oregon. But just the access of getting to play against those guys and be there and getting to just work out. So, I mean, I'd have days where I'd work out, get shots up, take a nap, and go back to working out again, getting shots up, playing against those guys, getting my butt whipped every day, but just continuously, getting better at it and working at my craft.
Well, you worked on your craft well enough that you became a 4 or 5-star recruit coming out of Omaha, and you had a chance to look at a lot of different schools. Obviously, Creighton had to be one of those schools, but you chose the University of Louisville. What went into your decision-making process in coming here?
Yeah, so ended up being a 4-star recruit, was the first to win 4 state championships in a row, in Nebraska. Creighton was definitely an option, but it's a whole nother story. We might have to talk about another day. It's a long explanation, but they were definitely, they were up and coming. They had just gotten, Coach McDermott, who's now there still. But, what really attracted me to the University of Louisville is just kind of their rich tradition and their success in the basketball world. And obviously the amount of talent of players that have been here, but then also the great coaches that have been here and just their success overall. And so, I wanted to not only be a part of that tradition and be able to be, win and be successful, but then also try to further my career afterwards of playing collegiately.
Okay, tell us about your first year. You came here. I think they were on the heels of just winning their first their last national championship. So you come into a tradition-filled, tradition-rich program, Hall of Fame basketball coach and Coach Pitino, great basketball players, and then you get here. Talk about your first year here.
So, I mean, first, my freshman year, was in okay shape, but not in Coach Pitino shape.
Nobody's in Coach Pitino shape.
Those are just, was decently mentally tough just because of my experiences in life. But, it's just a different form of mental toughness that you just had to have playing under Coach P and being here, but also just being a freshman in general. Just so much to learn, in high school, a lot of the time, sometimes I was physically, stronger, quicker, more athletic than guys. Now you're coming into a program where everyone is just that or even twice as much as that. And so, I mean, my freshman year was competing against guys like Montrezl Harrell, who's now in the NBA, having a successful career. He was just back in town, which was amazing to see, to have him at Louisville Live and stuff like that. But, I mean, Shane Mahan. And so it was getting my butt whooped every single day in practice by those guys while getting cussed out, while running on the treadmill, all at once. So it was quite an experience. But, was able to get through freshman year, didn't really play much. Was up and down, but, just kind of made a decision that summer to really get my body into best shape of my life and really put a lot of effort into it. And we had like this body fat goal. If you're a a 4 or 5, you had to be 10% or under, and guards were 8%. And that summer, I actually ended up getting my body fat. I remember perfectly because it ended up going downhill, but I got my body fat to about 5%. And it was the best shape that I had ever gotten in. Things were going well. Montrezl Harrell was supposed to leave, but he ended up deciding to come back. But, we were going to kind of play different positions, share time, stuff like that. So things were starting to get there. I was starting to move, getting in that shape, getting mentally tough. I had that first year of experience, getting to compete against Montrez and Shane and all those guys. We brought in a really good recruiting class. Then I get hurt. And then that's kind of where my history of injuries kind of started after that. I had my sports hernia. I was dealing with a little issue with my shoulders my freshman year that I ended up getting figured out. So then I had my sports hernia, tried to play through it. Didn't really work. It was really painful. Ended up having to go have the surgery. I personally probably rushed back a little bit just because I knew where things were, looking forward to my sophomore year, but just wasn't really ready. My body wasn't ready. And so, semester of my sophomore year, I decided to transfer. I was like, maybe I just need to go, get a fresh start, maybe just kind of put this behind me, try to sit out a year, get my body really healthy, try to start somewhere else. And that's where I ended up at Georgetown in DC.
So you're in Georgetown. Tell us about your time with Coach Thompson.
Fantastic time. Besides, like I said, that's kind of where the injury bug continued. I sat out that semester, so I was going to be eligible semester of my junior season. First day of official practice, I tear my ACL. So sit out that year. Then my senior year, season started. I kind of finally got healthy once again, kind of that upward battle, got healthy, tear my meniscus. Kind of ended up playing through the season with a torn meniscus. The year ends. I have a meniscus surgery. And then they sadly ended up letting Coach Thompson go. So then I ended up, due to my sports hernia year at Louisville, I got a 5th year granted. So I got a 5th year, and then I went to SMU, Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas. And so got a 5th year, went there. Had a great summer. We took a trip to Canada. Was playing well, everything, foreign trip. Everything was good. And end up one day, first day of practice happens. I wake up the next day, my knee's the size of a watermelon. I'm just like, what's going on? So rehab it out, get it going normal, practice again, it happens the same thing. So ended up getting drained, got a knee infection. Couldn't tell you how, where, what, who knows. So get a knee infection, and they tell me I got to get this thing called a PICC line. And so a PICC line is basically an IV that's connected through your shoulder, that's connected all the way inside, kind of around your heart. You take an IV through it to help push those fluids through your body quicker, gets it in your stream, kind of gets it through your body to that area to centralize it. And so get a PICC line. 3 weeks later, I get a blood clot from the PICC line. So then now I'm on blood thinners. And now I can't do anything. And now at this point, to be honest, depressed, kind of just feeling down, not knowing what to do, just kind of eating everything. I somehow, for some reason, I saw every blood clot commercial that was ever created during that time span. So I'm like, Lord, really strong believer, believe in the Lord, and he got me through. But I'm like, God, if you just trying to tell me something, man, like just come personally tell me, because I'm obviously maybe not listening to any of your signs. But ended up kind of getting through that. And
what made you not want to quit? What made you not want to quit at that point?
Where I came from. Coming from Sudan, just the chances of making it out. When I was a baby, I had malaria. So I had to be revived. Like had to be brought back. And so just where I'm from, the amount of work that my parents went through to get us here to, afford us a better opportunity. And at the end of the day, for them, it was getting my education. And basketball was that tool. And so at least what I was going to get out of basketball is my free education. I got 3 degrees out of it, all paid for, probably $500,000 worth. So that was the most important thing. And so, but also I've got 6 younger siblings. So trying to, be an example to them and let them know that, we're all going to face obstacles. It's just kind of how you bounce back from it. So had that, ended up getting a 6th year that I did not think was really going to happen. And so I was just like, hey, it'd kind of be cool to go back where it all started.
You can't come home.
Right. So ended up coming back and, having my last my senior year here.
Before we get to that,
Yeah.
talk about getting back, because there's a different coach.
Yep.
And I know that Coach Mack had recruited you while you were at Xavier,
Correct.
while he was at Xavier, rather.
Yep.
Tell me about the conversation and trying to get you to come back here.
Yeah. So it really started more, I had the thought, and so I kind of actually reached out myself because I had the previous relationship with him when he was at Xavier and he had recruited me there and stuff like that. And kind of every once in a while I maybe spoke, just saying hello, nothing crazy. And, just my experience I had here, the fans here loving the city and everything like that. I was like, hey, coach, probably can get a 6th year. I know this is going to be your first year. I would love to come back home. Is that anything you'd be interested in? Would you take me? And he said, absolutely. And so we just kind of got the whole, compliance, all that good stuff to get the 6th year granted by the NCAA, then actually getting me here and everything like that. And so it just kind of once, he decided that he would like me to be kind of a part of his team in my first year and everything, his first year and my coming back for my last go around. So just kind of worked out and ended up coming back home and, finishing my last year.
Okay, talk about your last year here.
So I had an instance where I hyperextended my knee. Mm-hmm. So all my surgeries have been on my right knee. Strictly all on my right knee. And so I was always battling something with it. It was either swelling or whatever. So I was kind of like that biker guy on the side who would bike and then maybe take a couple reps here and there. And so just kind of had a really up and down year with my knee. And, I had games where I'd play, games I didn't due to certain things or situations. But we ended up having a good first year and making it into the tournament. Ended up losing the first round to, I think it was Minnesota
right,
and Iowa. Had a lot of family come, but, overall it was good. But there was a time period in there where I think it was back-to-back. I hyperextended my right knee, had to sit out. Then I had my book come out. So I had a book that was kind of written about me. Mm-hmm. And it came out. So I was out for maybe I don't know, almost maybe 2.5, 3 weeks, just because once my knee recovered from that, and then my book coming out, NCAA, having to deal with compliance in NCAA, are you getting paid for this book? How'd you get this book? Why did you get this book? Did your mama, did your granny, did your uncle, did your granny, friend, uncle, son, brother getting any money from the, just a list of all these questions that I had to answer. I'm like, listen, I didn't even think about anything about getting money from anything about this book. It's I had a story written about me. It's pretty cool to say you've got a book out.
Right.
And so money was not even ever talked about in that situation. And so it's just kind of getting through that and answering all those questions and being like, no, this, improving it and kind of all that mess. And then just kind of ended up getting through it and then finishing up my senior year.
Through it all, we talked about a lot of different injuries. At what point did you think that it was going to be over? And the reason why I say that is because I remember my senior year, and it was basically a conversation with myself whether I was going to continue to try and figure out how to play overseas, or was I going to hang it up? With all your different injuries, you decided to keep going. So talk about what happened after you got finished with that last season.
Well, I think my biggest thing with basketball is it's such a unique sport, and just to be able to say basketball is your job. I think that's just I think sometimes people lose sight of that. You're getting to, now I know there's a lot that comes with it. You went through it, I went through it. We all kind of go through it in our specific, work that we do. But being able to play a sport, I think is a very unique thing. And it's a very unique job to be able to have and actually be able to get paid for it. And so, for me, I just always do that thing where I always just compare to where I come from. I'm like, if this is my worst case scenario, I think I'm doing pretty well in life. And so for me, it's just the amount of stuff basketball has awarded me, these different places, living in Louisville, Kentucky, being in Washington, D.C., being in Dallas, Texas, and then coming back here, but then also afterwards going to Spain, being in Mexico, took a trip to Hawaii with Georgetown, went to Italy with Georgetown, just all these different places that basketball has taken me in the relationships. I think it's worth it for me. Now I've got to be smart because whenever the doctor puts an X-ray up between both my knees, like, well, this is the knee of a 60-year-old and this is a knee of a 26-year-old. And I'm like, are they both mine? And they're like, yes, that one is your right one that you've had every procedure on, and that's your good one that's carrying you. So that's kind of what it's been. But yeah, went overseas a little bit. Played a season in Mexico, did like a combine thing in Spain, and then also played for my national team. So Sudan split in half. We were the world's newest country in 2011, and so we split in half. So we're South Sudanese, and so we just recently put together our basketball federation over the last two years or so. And Luol Deng played in the NBA, had a really good NBA career. South Sudanese, he's the head of our federation. We put our program together, and so we had a series of different tournaments. So it's tournaments you play, qualify for AfroBasket, kind of this 4-year process of trying to qualify for the Olympics.
Right.
And so I went to Africa 3 or 4 times over the last year and a half or two during COVID, playing for my national team. So,
well, you talked earlier about your degrees. You said you had 3 degrees. I know one was in English.
Yep, English and anthropology. So I was a double major at Georgetown, English and anthropology.
And what was the last one in?
And then I got my master's in management from Southern Methodist University, and I got my MBA. I did the fast track MBA program.
How are you using those degrees right now and some of the things you're trying to do?
I think I've just always had an entrepreneur mindset. I am someone who am really good at not only thinking of things or ideas or having a vision for a space, but also making it happen in the sense of my relationships that I have been able to kind of create through all these different experiences, and actually putting something together that people can believe in, not only just me, but also the vision of whatever that might be. And so, during the pandemic, me and a buddy of mine, his name is Matthew Melander, he was a former manager at U of L that I met my freshman year. So he's going on a tour with his mom and dad. He was deciding if he wants to come to U of L, just be a student, and then maybe just kind of help with the men's basketball team, stuff like that, or go play, D2 soccer or something. And so I'm just a very outspoken person. I'm just like, Matthew, if you don't go play soccer somewhere, but you don't come to Louisville, I will hunt you down and find you. We're going to have some words. So ended up coming to Louisville. Amazing family. And they really brought me in, spent Christmases there and Thanksgivings when we couldn't go home. First time brought me over there, like, bring a load of laundry. I hadn't done laundry in like 3 months. So it was like 20-something loads, and we joke about it all the time. But they really took me in, man, and they're amazing people. And so me and him, he came up with a video game idea using Twitch. And so we're called Primetime Sports. And so basically what we did is we took influencers or high-level athletes or whatever the case might be. They would come on the platform, they would play, and then fans would be able to come on, watch them play, and then they can kind of pay to have their questions answered. And then at the end, there was like a split between us and the player. And then we also took a percentage of what we made as a company, and then we picked a charity for that month in which we would give the donations to. And so we did that, and that worked out perfectly because we were able to do a simulation, not a simulation, guys actually played it, but of the NCAA tournament. So got a headline on ESPN. But basically what Matt did, because I'm like the talker guy, you know what I mean? Call the athletes, call the schools, get the guys to kind of commit to playing. But he's like video game genius. And so he took NBA 2K because they don't do college games anymore. And practically he did go create every college team using the NBA teams and making them as closely to their stats, using their stats and putting their names and putting the NCAA course, like the whole nine for, what the 68 teams would have been that year who would have made the tournament or did, using Joe Lunardi's thing. So I think we picked one system to use. I think it might have been, we said Xboxes is cheaper. Like, maybe more people have Xboxes. So we do Xbox. I start calling these guys, DMing these guys on Instagram. Guys start having PlayStation. So he had to go back, recreate some of these teams. And so what we ended up doing is changing the games around a little bit, but we had like an Xbox side and a PlayStation side. and then they played it out. And then in the championship, we did like a coin flip, and then whoever won or whoever lost had to play with the winners system. So the championship was played with like a PlayStation, and sad to say it was a UK player that won. But amazing kid. His name is Emmanuel Quickly, and he's on the Knicks now. But he was fantastic kid.
Let me ask you this: I know you're here now.
Yep.
Is basketball over? You're playing.
No.
Okay.
Not at all.
Okay.
But I still definitely like to be involved in the game. Just created a recent relationship with James Schuler, with Schuler Prep down there, and then he's obviously at Fern Creek, and so I'm going to start kind of doing stuff, helping with conditioning, open practice, their practices, kind of working out some of their guys who are involved in that. And then I've got 2 big projects for the city of Louisville that I'm working on now that I can't quite disclose at this moment, but I think it's something the city of Louisville is going to really like. And I know their minds, once they see the price starts rolling and everybody start asking me questions, but I'm not sharing till it's time. So,
well, let me ask you this. You have done a lot. Obviously, you're not from here. You've done a lot since you've been here. Where do you envision yourself? Let's say 10 years from now. What is the ultimate dream for Mr. Agau? What's your ultimate dream of where do you want to be in life? What do you want to do?
I think the nonprofit / foundation / prep school is kind of what I'm really passionate about. I think some of these other stuff that I kind of do is to kind of start building that success and put me in a position to be able to really focus on just giving back. Kind of one of the biggest things that I really want to do in Omaha. I was able to create just this really unique relationship with Susie Buffett. So Warren Buffett's daughter, she went to our high school, but Omaha's got the largest South Sudanese population. But we've also got this large amount of kids who are coming over here from Africa who are just being thrown in all these different places. They don't have guidance and stuff like that. So I want to build a prep school where we are that premier location that those kids can come. But there's also got people who maybe speak their languages that look like them. It's kind of tough. I mean, I was blessed enough to have both my parents and stuff like that, but that was still hard. Now imagine coming over here by yourself. So try to do something like that. But I'm really, big into giving back. Would love to go back home, kind of built the whole schools, hospitals, everything like that. So that's kind of my big Akoy Agau.
I was going to say, you kind of sound like Dikembe a little bit.
It's so crazy. When I was at SMU, 2 guys who went to SMU, one was a football player, one was a basketball player, actually helped Dikembe build his hospital in the Congo. I kind of got to meet them, got to meet George W. Bush, all this stuff, but they kind of know what I'm doing and what I'm working on and trying to get that put together. And so, like I said, basketball it's crazy. Got to know Dikembe at Georgetown and all that stuff.
Last question. Considering all the things that you've been through in life, you're 26 now, correct?
Yes, sir. I'm about to be 27. Oh, my God.
Still young. You've done a lot of things in your life so far. What advice would you give to someone that has to battle any kind of adversity right now?
So kind of what I want the name of my foundation is called is N2P. And what N2P stands for is negative to positive. And so I think it's presenting this this idea to people, but also letting them know that it's just a part of life that we're always going to go through some type of negative, some type of obstacle. Now, it's what we decide to do with this obstacle. Are we going to go through it? Are we going to go around it? Are we going to find a way to fix it? But it's having that mindset that different things that happen in our lives are for a certain reason, and that they help make us the individuals that we are. So if I would have never had all my injuries, I may not have had these different experiences of going to Georgetown, getting that undergraduate degree, going to SMU, meeting these people, meeting the people that helped Dikembe do what he did. And so it's now getting to realize that everything kind of happened for those specific reasons for my overall goal and my vision in life. And so always taking whatever kind of comes in our way in life and turning it into a positive and making it something good.
Man, I appreciate you being here. Like I said, I gave you a call. You told me what time. You asked me what time. You said I cancel whatever to be here. So I appreciate you being here. And I'm going to agree with John Thompson. I can't say that you're the most interesting man in the world, but I can honestly say you're one of the most interesting people I know and I've met. So I
Give
appreciate.
me 2 years.
Give you 2 years? Okay. We'll have this interview in 2 years now. See where you are. Maybe you'll be interviewing me.
That too.
Man, once again, thank you for being here. As we like to close the show, you talked about perspective. give him my perspective. Doesn't matter what you say. Doesn't matter what I think. At the end of the day, it's all a matter of perspective. Brother Agau, thanks for being here.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.